The Voyageurs were not your typical New World settlers. They adopted many habits and clothing styles from the native people because they worked best in the wilderness. You see the military here and I all have what I call city shoes on. Pretty modern looking, leather shades, hard leather soles, very, very comfortable. And they fall apart. Boys here have a tendency to go barefoot or to wear moccasins, which they adopted from the American people. They wore short pants or breeches or even a loincloth because jumping in and out of the canoe all day, you didn't want wet pants. They wore a wide sash at the waist, which functioned kind of like a weight belt to help them transport the trade goods in the boat across portages. The Voyageurs paddled from dawn till dusk every day, and were only allowed to stop for short breaks to smoke a pipe. There were different positions in the canoe. In the front, you had the avant, who's in charge of watching your course to avoid rocks. In the back is the gouverneur who steers the boat. The avant keeps the pace. A voyageur could earn extra money if he knew many, many songs and could sing and keep pace with paddling, help pass the time. Voyageur life was similar to a sailor's life. They did not eat very well. They did not hunt or fish along the way. They were just trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So they carried things like dried peas, hardtack, pemmican, dried fruits and nuts, anything that would not spoil. On the way of their journey, they made trade for fresh food at various villages, but for the most part, they lived like sailors and ate dried food. They were adventurers and loved to tell stories of the wilderness while they traveled. And they were known to be braggarts. They enjoyed racing their canoes and bragging of their adventures in the wilderness. To other Europeans, they looked funny, with their long shirts loose in the shoulders for paddling, breechcloths, leggings, and native jewelry. All these were things the Voyageurs adopted for their life in the wilderness. The canoes are made of birch bark. They were, the native people taught the French how to make these canoes, and then the French supersized them so that they could carry all these trade goods. A normal Native American canoe would have been similar to what we think of as a canoe today, like 15 to 20 feet. These canoes are 20 to 26 feet. The birch bark is stitched together with spruce roots, and then the black lines that you see on the side is a mixture of pitch, animal fat, pine pitch, and charcoal, and that acts as a waterproof caulking. The gunnels and forks are sewn to the birch bark with, again, spruce roots, and then the inside has planking and ribs like it's similar to a ship. Let's have a cheer for the Voyageurs and welcome them to Fort Lauderdale. The Voyageurs would have traveled in groups, and many of them had their own flag that they just invented. They weren't necessarily from any country or king, but it was a way for them to tell where they came from. The canoes are often painted with designs on bow in the stern. It would have taken about 3 months to come from Montreal to Vietnam. They would have started in the early spring as soon as the ice left the rivers and lakes, and probably arrived in Vietnam probably a little earlier in the year than this. They might not have been able to make it all the way back to Montreal in 1 year. So some of them may have stayed over the winter here at Vietnam, or they may have gotten closer to Montreal and wintered over in one of the other French coasts.
Okay, we're ready. We need more people.
A lot of cities in the Midwest started as French fur trade posts. Chicago, Detroit, Montreal we mentioned. From the Great Lakes, the Voyageurs could access all of the territory that we now think of as Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, as well as the Canadian northern side of the lakes. On the lakes, they had an even larger canoe than these. It was a 34-foot canoe called the Montreal canoe. It's about 6 foot in diameter in the middle, or across, not diameter. But these smaller canoes can carry about 2 to 2.5 tons of trade goods. The Montreal canoe could carry about 5 tons of trade goods. One of these canoes that we're looking at here, the North canoes, would have had a crew of about 4 to 6 men. And then been mostly filled with trade goods or furs. Trade goods coming from Montreal, and when they went back to Montreal in the autumn, they would be filled with furs. We'll have a blessing for the Voyageurs from Father Antoine.
Oremus, Libra nos que somos Domine, et omnis molis, presentibus et virturebus, et intercessiate Beate Maria Sempre Virgine, Beato Michele Arcangelo, Beato Ioannis Apostolis Petro et Folia et omnibus sanctis. Vidat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
We're going to have to get the other boat up before we leave.
Okay, thank you for joining us. One more cheer for the Voyageurs.